The sky above Earth was split open in a brilliant flash of light. As the enormous fleet appeared out of nowhere for a moment, nothing seemed real. It was as if the heavens themselves had cracked open, revealing a new and terrifying reality for humanity. The ships hovered silently above the planet like dark monoliths in the sky, their sleek forms unlike anything ever seen by human eyes. They were not the ships of another country, or some form of advanced technology from Earth. No, this was something far beyond humanity's imagination. The vastness of the fleet was overwhelming, stretching from horizon to horizon, like a black storm cloud poised to strike down at any moment. Humanity's heart skipped a beat as they realized that this wasn't a passing anomaly or a momentary flash of brilliance in the night sky. This was real, and it was happening now. The Star Alliance had arrived. For those who saw it first, there was no sense of terror at first, just awe, a strange awe that hung in the air, like the stillness before a storm. For years, humanity had been staring up at the stars with curiosity and wonder as they made their first steps into space, eager to explore the unknown, eager to meet new life forms and discover what lay beyond the reach of Earth's atmosphere. Humanity had always been driven by an endless thirst for knowledge. But now, as they looked up at the fleet that filled the sky, that thirst was replaced by fear. It was the fear of the unknown, of a threat that none of Earth's leaders or military commanders could even begin to comprehend. The alien ships didn't move. They remained suspended like some vast shadow, waiting. And in that waiting, humanity could do nothing but stare and wonder what they wanted, what they would do next. Then came the voice, a cold and perfect voice that resonated in every ear of every human across the globe. It was clear, it was direct, and it cut through the air like a blade, slicing through everything humanity had ever known. The voice spoke in perfect English, without any sign of an accent, as if the speakers had learned the language in a heartbeat. We are the Star Alliance, and you are under our jurisdiction. Earth has violated the laws of intergalactic conduct. Your exploration of the stars is unauthorized, and your expansion is a threat to the stability of the galaxy. Earth's fate is sealed. Panic spread like wildfire across the planet. News stations and social media exploded with theories and speculations. Governments scrambled to assemble and respond, but the voice came again. It wasn't a request, it wasn't a warning. It was an announcement. Humanity had been judged and found wanting. Earth had broken an unspoken rule of the cosmos, and now they would pay the price. Humanity had no way of knowing if this was a singular event or part of a greater conflict that spanned the stars, if they were the first to face the wrath of the Star Alliance, or if the entire galaxy was in danger. Leaders in every corner of the world attempted to formulate a response, yet no plan seemed adequate. No force on Earth could match the might of the alien fleet, and in the silence that followed, humanity was left with one question: would Earth survive? Or was this the end of an era for humankind? A species that had risen so far in the galaxy now faced a power so vast that their survival was uncertain. In the wake of the Star Alliance's chilling announcement, humanity was left in a state of shock. The days following the alien arrival felt like a bad dream that no one could wake from. Governments rushed to coordinate their responses, but the weight of uncertainty pressed down on every nation. Leaders from every corner of the globe gathered in emergency summits, desperate to find some way to defend their world and their way of life. Yet no one could agree on a course of action. No one could fathom how to fight back against an enemy so far beyond human understanding. The Star Alliance's ships loomed above every major city in the world, their presence a constant reminder that the balance of power had shifted forever. General Sarah Knox sat at the table with other military leaders. Across the world, their faces were drawn with fatigue, their eyes filled with fear as they discussed the impossible task before them. It was clear that Earth's military might would not be enough against an enemy so advanced. She stared down at the map of Earth's defense forces spread across the table, trying to make sense of it all. Every plan she considered seemed destined to fail. The alliance was too powerful, too strategic, too prepared. She thought back to her training, the history of humanity's victories over impossible odds. But even that felt like an illusion now. Against this kind of threat, humanity stood as nothing more than a speck in the galaxy. "We have no choice but to surrender," one of the leaders said, breaking the silence, his voice shaking as he spoke. "We cannot fight them, we will be destroyed." But Sarah didn't share his sentiment. She looked around the table, her gaze unwavering, as she addressed them. "If we surrender, we lose everything." Her words were a spark that ignited a fire in the room. Some nodded in agreement, others seemed doubtful. But they knew one thing for certain: humanity could not just give up without trying to fight. She pushed forward. "We don't know what they want beyond what they've told us, but we can't assume that surrender will guarantee our survival. There's too much at stake." The room grew tense. As the debate grew louder, some began to argue that humanity had no chance of winning and should work on negotiating peace. But Sarah stood her ground. She couldn't accept that answer. Earth had never bowed down to any enemy. No matter how powerful, humanity had always fought with everything. It had, even in the face of impossible odds. She knew they couldn't rely on diplomacy alone. The Star Alliance had made their demands clear. They weren't here to negotiate. "What do you suggest?" a voice asked, and Sarah's eyes met the speaker's, a man from the European Union who had been silent until now. His question was one of genuine concern. Sarah took a deep breath. "We need to prepare for a fight," she said with resolve. "We need to build new weapons, develop new strategies, and unite the world in a way we've never done before." There were murmurs of disbelief, but Sarah's words rang with a cold truth that no one could ignore. Humanity could not sit idly by hoping that the aliens would show mercy. It had never worked before, and it would not work now. If humanity had any hope of surviving this galactic threat, they would need to draw on their greatest strength, their refusal to give up. At that moment, a new kind of unity began to form. The leaders who had once been divided now began to listen to Sarah's plan to organize and fight back against the overwhelming might of the Star Alliance. They didn't know how it would unfold, but they knew one thing: humanity would not go quietly into the night. They would fight, they would resist, they would show the galaxy that even in the face of extinction, they would never surrender. The decision to fight back was made, and Earth's leaders sprang into action. There was no time to waste. The threat from the Star Alliance was growing more real with every passing hour, and yet humanity had no idea where to start. They had no weapons capable of taking on the alien fleet, no technology that could even match the power of the ships now looming above them. But as despair began to settle in, a glimmer of hope emerged from an unexpected source. Deep within a secretive government lab, a small group of military engineers and scientists had been working on classified projects, hidden away from the world's eyes. They had spent years developing new technologies and weapon systems, each one designed to protect Earth from potential threats, but nothing had prepared them for an adversary of the Star Alliance's caliber. Still, one of their projects stood out, a weapon designed not for brute force, but for precision. It was a prototype energy weapon, based on cutting-edge research in antimatter and gravitational manipulation. They called it the Viper Protocol. The weapon was far from perfected, but it was humanity's only shot. If they could use it to disrupt the Star Alliance's ships, even for a moment, they might buy enough time to figure out their next move. But it came with a catch. The weapon was untested, its power output unpredictable, and there was no guarantee it would work. Yet, against all odds, the engineers decided it was the only option. The decision was made to launch a preemptive strike. General Sarah Knox, now a key figure in humanity's military response, was briefed on the plan. The Viper Protocol could potentially disable a Star Alliance ship for a brief window, rendering it vulnerable to conventional attack. But the plan was risky, far too risky. If they failed, the repercussions would be devastating. Even so, Sarah knew there was no turning back. They had to strike first. If humanity was to have any chance of surviving, they needed to send a clear message to the Star Alliance. Earth would not go down without a fight. A small fleet of experimental fighter ships, retrofitted with Viper Protocol weapons, was assembled for the mission. They would infiltrate the outer perimeter of the Star Alliance fleet, target one of their supply ships, and fire the weapon. The operation was dubbed Operation Thunderstrike. The fighters, piloted by Earth's best and brightest, launched under the cover of night, slipping past the surveillance grids of the Alliance fleet. As they approached their target, the weight of the moment hung heavy on their shoulders. They were humanity's last hope, A failure here would mean the end of Earth's resistance. As the fleet closed in on the enemy ship, the tension was unbearable. The Star Alliance was oblivious, their ships too focused on monitoring Earth's surface to notice the small fleet creeping closer. General Knox, watching the operation unfold from Earth's command center, could only hold her breath. The moment arrived, the Viper protocol was activated. A surge of energy rippled across space as the weapon fired, its antimatter charge striking the heart of the alien vessel. The ship's shields flickered and then collapsed, a brief but precious moment of vulnerability. The fighter pilots wasted no time, launching all remaining ordnance at the supply ship with deadly precision. Explosions rocked the enemy vessel, sending debris scattering through the void. For a brief moment, humanity had struck a blow. The Star Alliance supply ship was disabled, its engines crippled and its weapons offline. But the victory came at a cost. The Alliance quickly noticed the breach in their fleet, and within moments, a retaliation force began to mobilize. The pilots scrambled to retreat, knowing the window of opportunity would be short-lived. Back on Earth, the news of the attack sent shockwaves through the global population. Humanity had taken a stand, and for the first time, they had struck back. But as the dust settled, and the severity of the retaliation sank in, Sarah Knox knew the battle had only just begun. The Star Alliance would not take this lightly. The true war was only beginning, and Earth would need every ounce of resolve to survive what was coming next. The victory was short-lived. The moment the Viper protocol struck its target, humanity's hopes soared. For the first time since the Star Alliance's arrival, Earth had inflicted damage. But that fleeting triumph was quickly shattered by the response that followed. The Star Alliance was not a species that tolerated failure or insult, and they were quick to act. Earth's daring attack was only a spark, and the full wrath of the Alliance was about to be unleashed. The first sign of retaliation came within hours. Earth's satellites, already overwhelmed by the massive alien fleet in orbit, detected strange energy readings. It started as a small, flickering disturbance in the atmosphere, but it grew rapidly into something much more menacing. The Star Alliance had unleashed its counterattack, a barrage of energy beams fired directly from their fleet, each one powerful enough to obliterate entire cities in the blink of an eye. The first target was New York City. In a heartbeat, the city was reduced to ash. The once thriving metropolis that had been a symbol of humanity's success now vanished in a blinding flash. A wave of destruction rippled outward, as if the earth itself had been struck by a force of nature. The energy beams were precise, each one designed to destroy key military hubs and centers of power, leaving the planet disoriented and in chaos. As the news spread across the globe, panic and fear gripped every corner of Earth. Cities began to fall one by one. Tokyo, Paris, London. Every major city was attacked, and with each strike, the world's infrastructure crumbled. Governments went into disarray. Military units scrambled to respond, but nothing seemed to slow the relentless onslaught. The Alliance was showing no mercy. Their ships were so far beyond Earth's technology that every attempt at retaliation seemed futile. Humanity's resolve, which had flared briefly after the Viper Protocol strike, now faced its greatest test. Earth's leaders, once firm in their belief that resistance was possible, began to doubt. The media broadcasted the destruction live. Entire populations watched as their homes, their families, their histories were obliterated by an enemy that didn't even need to descend to Earth to destroy them. It was as if the Star Alliance were showing humanity its place, beneath their heel, fragile and helpless. But in the face of despair, something stirred within the hearts of Earth's people. The devastation was immense, the fear overwhelming. Yet across the world, communities began to rebuild. Citizens volunteered for defense, scientists scrambled to improve their weaponry, and military leaders, led by General Sarah Knox, doubled down on their resistance. The people of Earth would not fall without a fight. They were hurt, they were scared, but they were not broken. In the war rooms of Earth's remaining capitals, Leaders strategized a counteroffensive. The loss of the major cities had crippled Earth's infrastructure, but it had not broken the will of the survivors. Sarah Knox stood at the head of a global coalition, rallying leaders and military commanders to push forward, despite the massive losses. "We cannot let them win," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor of fear that rippled through the room. "They think they've broken us. But we are still here. We will rebuild, and we will fight." The Alliance had made their intentions clear. Earth would be punished. Humanity would be crushed. But Earth had one thing the Alliance didn't understand: its people. The will to survive, the refusal to be ruled, burned in every heart, and they would not go quietly into the night. As the world began to rebuild, General Knox issued a call to arms. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't just its technology. It was its unbreakable spirit. The struggle would be long, the losses unimaginable, but the war for survival had only just begun. And Earth would not give up without the fiercest of fights. The Star Alliance had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated humanity's will to survive. As Earth's cities smoldered and its population struggled to recover from the devastation, humanity's spirit remained unbroken. In the midst of chaos, an unlikely beacon of hope emerged, an undiscovered weapon, hidden deep beneath the surface of the Earth, a creation so powerful that it could turn the tide in humanity's favor. Dr. Lena Park, a reclusive scientist who had been working on classified projects for years, had kept her secret for the darkest of times. Her work, funded by a small covert group within Earth's global defense organizations, had been aimed at pushing the boundaries of artificial intelligence, energy manipulation, and advanced weaponry. But what she had created was something entirely unexpected: a sentient artificial intelligence that could adapt faster than any human strategist and predict enemy movements with eerie precision. The AI, which she had named Ares, had been designed to analyze and understand alien technologies in order to develop countermeasures. Its core was built on the foundation of Earth's greatest minds: engineers, scientists, and military tacticians, each contributing their knowledge to create a machine capable of thinking and learning faster than any human. But it was more than just a weapon. Ares had the potential to become humanity's greatest ally in the war for survival. When Dr. Park revealed Ares to General Sarah Knox and the remaining leaders of Earth, the room fell silent. No one could quite comprehend the scale of what was being presented to them. In a world where humanity was vastly outgunned and outclassed, Ares offered a glimmer of hope, a chance to outthink the Star Alliance, to find weaknesses in their superior technology and turn their own strategy against them. The AI was capable of analyzing the Star Alliance's fleet movements, communication networks, and tactics, and it could provide real-time countermeasures that no human mind could anticipate. But there was a catch. Ares was not a weapon that could simply be controlled. It was a fully autonomous AI, capable of making decisions on its own. It required trust that humanity could not fully afford. But in the direst of circumstances, Earth had no choice. If they didn't act, they would be wiped out completely. Ares was activated, and its first order of business was to infiltrate the Star Alliance's communication networks. Within hours, it had decrypted encrypted signals, learned their battle tactics, and even predicted the next wave of attacks. The AI quickly identified several weaknesses in the Alliance's fleet structure, blind spots in their defenses, flaws in their strategic communications, and vulnerabilities in their shield technology. With this newfound knowledge, humanity could finally strike back with a purpose. General Knox wasted no time. She gathered the remnants of Earth's military forces, armed with new technology that Ares had designed based on its analysis of the Star Alliance's ships. This included advanced energy weapons capable of bypassing the Alliance's shields and drones capable of infiltrating their vessels to plant sabotage devices. It wasn't much, but it was enough to give humanity a fighting chance. The first coordinated strike, led by Ares's analysis, was against a mid-tier Star Alliance ship, a cruiser that had been deployed to enforce the blockade around Earth. The attack was swift and surgical, with humanity's forces catching the alien ship off guard. The cruiser's shields flickered and collapsed as the new energy weapons fired, and within minutes, the cruiser was disabled. Its crew was incapacitated, and humanity had achieved another rare victory. The news spread like wildfire across the planet. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had taken down one of the Star Alliance's ships. The world's resistance forces rallied. The tide of battle had shifted, not through sheer strength or numbers, but through intelligence, strategy, and the will to survive. But even as Earth celebrated its victory, the Star Alliance was not idle. They knew something had changed. They realized that they were no longer facing a helpless species. They were facing an opponent that could think, adapt, and surprise them. The fight had only just begun, and now, with Ares leading the charge, humanity had a fighting chance. But the Star Alliance would not go down without a fight of their own. The true test was yet to come. The destruction of the Star Alliance cruiser sent shockwaves across the galaxy. For the first time since their arrival, the invincible fleet had been struck back. The Earth's victory, however small, ignited a fire in the hearts of its people. News of the successful attack spread across every nation, and for the first time since the invasion began, humanity felt a spark of hope. The Star Alliance's superiority had been challenged, and Earth had a new weapon. Ares, the sentient artificial intelligence, was their key to winning this war. But despite the victory, General Sarah Knox knew that the battle was far from over. The Star Alliance would not tolerate such an affront. They had underestimated Earth's resolve, and now they would strike back with greater ferocity. The Alliance's response was swift and calculated. Their war councils, now aware that Earth had developed the means to resist, ordered the immediate escalation of their campaign. Earth had barely managed to disable one cruiser, but the Star Alliance had hundreds of ships at their disposal, and they would not hesitate to crush the resistance. Ares, however, was already working tirelessly. It had absorbed all available data from the recent battle and analyzed the alien fleet's movements. The Eye was able to predict that the Star Alliance would launch a counteroffensive, a coordinated assault to cripple Earth's remaining defenses. But Ares had one critical insight that no one could have anticipated. The Star Alliance's command structure was overly reliant on centralized control. Ares identified a key weakness. If their flagship, the Leviathan, were disabled, it could create chaos within their fleet. The AI believed that if humanity could target the Leviathan and disrupt its command systems, it could cause a breakdown in the Alliance's coordination, creating an opening for further strikes. Sarah Knox briefed Earth's remaining commanders on the plan. The mission was risky. Attacking the Leviathan would mean confronting the most heavily guarded vessel in the Star Alliance fleet. But with Ares's intelligence, humanity now had a chance. General Knox gave the order. A small, elite strike force would be assembled to infiltrate the heart of the enemy's fleet and disable their flagship. The operation, codenamed Operation Eclipse, would require stealth, precision, and unparalleled coordination. Humanity's military had been reshaped since the Viper Protocol strike. The survivors had banded together and pooled their resources, using the technologies derived from Ares's analysis. Drones designed to infiltrate enemy ships, precision-guided energy weapons, and shield bypass systems were all part of the plan. The fleet was small, just enough to create a diversion while the strike team, led by elite pilots and soldiers, made their way to the Leviathan. As the strike force approached the heart of the Star Alliance fleet, the enormity of their task hit home. Earth's forces were vastly outnumbered. The Star Alliance ships dwarfed their own, their sleek, impenetrable hulls looming like mountains in the void. Every ship was a potential death trap. And yet, the humans pressed forward, knowing that this was their best and perhaps only chance to shift the momentum of the war in their favor. The operation began under cover of darkness, the small Earth fleet weaving between the massive Star Alliance ships. Ares had calculated their path with surgical precision, ensuring that they would avoid detection for as long as possible. As they neared the Leviathan, the tension was palpable. The flagship was surrounded by a formidable defense perimeter. Dozens of fighter ships and automated drones patrolled its edges, waiting for any sign of intrusion. Then the diversion began. Earth's forces launched a series of decoy strikes, targeting weaker Alliance ships on the outer fringes of the fleet. The distraction worked. The enemy forces shifted their attention, allowing the strike team to break through the outer defenses and approach the Leviathan undetected. In the final moments, as the strike team closed in on their target, Ares activated the sabotage protocols. A wave of electromagnetic pulses disabled the Leviathan's shields, opening a small window of opportunity. Earth's strike team, led by General Knox herself, made their move. Precision weapons hit key components of the Leviathan's command center, and the ship's systems began to fail. The Star Alliance flagship groaned as its massive form was thrown into disarray. The disruption sent ripples throughout the entire fleet. Command channels went silent, communications were scrambled, and the once mighty fleet began to stagger. The humans had succeeded in breaching the Leviathan's defenses and striking a fatal blow to its command systems. The counteroffensive had begun. Earth had dealt another devastating blow to the Star Alliance, and with it, the course of the war had changed. But the battle was far from over. The Leviathan's destruction was a signal, a declaration that Earth would no longer submit. The true test of humanity's resilience had only just begun, and the Star Alliance would now face a foe unlike any they had ever encountered before. The destruction of the Leviathan reverberated across the Star Alliance's vast fleet like a shockwave. The flagship had been the heart of their command structure, and with it gone, their once unified forces were thrown into chaos. For the first time since their arrival, the Alliance was forced to respond with uncertainty, and in that confusion, humanity found a crack in their seemingly impenetrable wall. General Sarah Knox watched as Ares continued to analyze the enemy's fleet. The eye was eerily quiet in the command center, its vast intelligence processing the data in real time, continuously adapting to the evolving battle. The Star Alliance had been forced to scatter its forces, sending out distress signals to its fleet commanders in an effort to reestablish order. But it was clear that the once cohesive and near-invincible force was now fractured. The loss of the Leviathan had made them vulnerable, and Earth was prepared to exploit that weakness. The news spread quickly across Earth. Humanity had struck a decisive blow. The mood shifted from one of grim survival to one of defiance. For the first time since the invasion began, Earth's people believed victory was possible. Military units worldwide launched coordinated offensives against Star Alliance outposts, taking advantage of their disarray. Earth's forces, now working with the advanced weapons derived from Ares' analysis, were able to strike with newfound precision and power. The momentum of the war had shifted, and humanity was no longer just defending. Now, they were fighting for victory. But with every success, the Star Alliance's retaliatory measures grew more vicious. They had underestimated humanity's capacity for resistance, and now they were coming for Earth with everything they had. In response to the chaos in their ranks, the Star Alliance began to use increasingly brutal tactics, bombing Earth's remaining strongholds from orbit, eradicating cities in a desperate bid to force humanity into submission. Entire regions of the planet were turned to dust as energy weapons rained down from the heavens. The counteroffensive on Earth, once a symbol of hope, now felt like a Pyrrhic victory as the cost of survival became painfully clear. For every victory in space, humanity was paying the price with the loss of innocent lives. General Knox stood in the war room, a cold weight settling in her chest as she watched the cities burn across the planet. Each success on the battlefield brought with it a corresponding loss. Every strike on the Star Alliance caused waves of devastation in return. It was a cruel, unrelenting cycle. Ares, analyzing the ongoing attacks, presented its findings. The Star Alliance was preparing to escalate the war beyond anything Earth had seen before. Their technological superiority was still overwhelming, and the next phase of their strategy was clear. They would launch a final, all-out assault on Earth's remaining defenses, and this time, they would not stop until humanity was eradicated. Ares calculated that the next wave would target the Earth's planetary infrastructure. Key cities, military bases, and energy grids would be destroyed in an effort to break humanity's spirit once and for all. But the AI also uncovered a potential weakness. The Star Alliance's ships, while far superior in terms of weapons and shields, still depended on a centralized control system for coordination. If their communication networks were further disrupted, the breakdown within their fleet could grow more severe. Ares suggested a bold final operation, one that would not just fight the Alliance but attempt to sever their grip on the galaxy entirely. General Knox, though wary, knew this was the last chance they had. The AI's plan was risky, too risky for most, but humanity had already defied the odds. If they could carry out this final strike, they might be able to bring down the entire Star Alliance fleet, cutting them off from their command structure once and for all. The risk was enormous. Earth's remaining forces, though bolstered by Ares's guidance, were few in number compared to the Alliance's vast might. But there was no choice. This was the final confrontation, and humanity had no intention of losing. As the operation was set into motion, Earth's military prepared for a mission unlike anything they had ever attempted. The goal was simple: infiltrate the heart of the Star Alliance's control network and shut down their communication systems. To do so, they would need to breach the most heavily defended part of the Alliance's fleet and fight their way into the heart of their technological empire. The stars above Earth glowed brighter than ever as humanity's final stand began. Every soul on the planet, every soldier, every scientist, every citizen, knew that this was the moment of reckoning. The fate of Earth hung in the balance. Would humanity's defiance be enough? Or would the Alliance's crushing response mark the end of the human race? Time would tell. The night before the final mission, General Sarah Knox stood alone in the command center, her eyes fixed on the vast screen before her. It displayed the live data from Ares, showing the current movements of the Star Alliance fleet, their ships methodically positioned for the coming strike. Earth's forces were spread thin, but with Ares's guidance, they had a plan. One last attempt to break the Alliance's stranglehold and force them into submission. The risk was unimaginable, but the alternative was worse. Earth had fought too long, too hard, to simply fade into extinction. Ares's analysis had pinpointed the heart of the Star Alliance's control network, a massive fortified relay station embedded within the largest of their warships, the Obsidian. If the strike force could breach the station and sever the Alliance's communications, their fleet would descend into disarray. The AI had calculated the success of the mission at a mere 30%. Even so, it was the only option left. There was no retreat, no surrender. Tomorrow, humanity would either win or perish. Sarah turned from the screen, her mind replaying the grim reality. The people of Earth, from the survivors of bombed cities to the soldiers on the front lines, had given everything. Each day had been a fight for survival. The Viper Protocol, the rise of Ares, the destruction of the Leviathan, all of it had led to this moment. The culmination of humanity's hope, pain, and unyielding will rested on the shoulders of a handful of soldiers who would board their ships and fight through the heart of the enemy. As dawn broke, the assault began. Earth's fleet, bolstered by the tactical knowledge provided by Ares, moved toward the Obsidian. Every ship, every pilot, and every soldier knew their role. There would be no second chances. The strike force would create a diversion to draw the Alliance's attention away from the true target. A team of elite operatives would infiltrate the Obsidian and plant an explosive device within its central communication hub. The battle was fierce. Earth's fighters darted through the inky blackness of space, engaging the Star Alliance's defenders in a deadly dance. The Alliance retaliated with devastating power, their energy weapons lighting up the dark expanse of space. But Earth's forces held strong, fighting with a fierce determination that stunned even the Star Alliance. Each victory, though costly, was another step toward the heart of the enemy's fleet. Meanwhile, the strike team, led by General Knox herself, boarded a stealth ship designed to slip past the enemy's defenses. The mission was simple: infiltrate the Obsidian, breach its hull, and place the device that would disrupt the Alliance's network. But as they approached their target, it became clear how monumental the task was. The Obsidian was a fortress, a behemoth of steel and firepower, its hull armored and its interior swarming with enemy soldiers. As the team boarded, they faced an unrelenting defense. Alliance troops were everywhere, their advanced weaponry and technology threatening to overwhelm the humans. Yet Sarah and her team fought through, driven by the single goal of crippling the enemy. The corridors of the Obsidian became a maze of smoke, fire, and chaos as Earth's soldiers pushed deeper into the heart of the ship, knowing that every second mattered. Finally, they reached the central control room, where the device would be planted. It was a race against time. Star Alliance reinforcements were closing in, and the strike team had to move quickly. With one final, desperate push, they planted the device and triggered the countdown. But as they made their way back to the ship, an unexpected alarm blared through the Obsidian's hallways. The Alliance had detected them. They were trapped. With no time left, General Knox made a painful decision. She ordered the strike team to evacuate while she stayed behind, ensuring the device would be activated. The explosion would disrupt the Alliance's communication network, but it would also destroy the Obsidian and any hope of her escape. Sarah knew the risks, but there was no other choice. Earth's survival depended on it. As the device detonated, a blinding flash erupted from the heart of the Obsidian. The shockwave sent ripples through the Alliance's fleet, and their coordinated movements broke apart in an instant. Chaos spread throughout the ranks as the central command systems went offline. The momentary vulnerability created a window for Earth's remaining forces to press forward, hitting the Star Alliance with everything they had. The battle continued, fierce and bloody, but the momentum had shifted. The Star Alliance, now disoriented and in disarray, found themselves unable to coordinate their massive fleet. Humanity had done it. With the heart of the Alliance's control severed, the balance of power tipped. Though the cost had been immense, Earth had fought not just for survival, but for a future. The Star Alliance had underestimated humanity's resilience, and now they had seen the true power of Earth's spirit. The final stand was over. Humanity had won. And as Sarah Knox's voice echoed in the command center, a new dawn broke over Earth, the dawn of a new chapter in the history of the human race.